feedback.
And we'll start with any comments, public comments from the commission.
Real quick, an update on the pollinator habitat on Hollis Road. The weekend of June 10th and 11th, we had a planting weekend. A bunch of plants went in the ground. We're looking to plant some more probably this weekend, but it's moving along, so moderate interest from the public.
Great.
But everybody's welcome to come and take a walk around over there, so.
And is there parking off-street, or you just park on the
No,
street?
there's parking off-street, directly across from Eastern Ave, there's a parking area.
Okay. So I'll have to look at getting some signage.
Yep, that's in the works.
Beautiful. All right, any other public comment from the commission? Seeing none, any public comment from the public? Seeing none, we'll move forward with our first hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protections and
Mr.
Municipal...
Chairman?
Yes.
You have to read the,
Oh, you're right.
TV.
In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. Request for determination by Marjorie Canavino for work at 67 Island Road will be held. Work entails the installation of a dock within the shores of Hickory Hills Lake. And at this point, I don't see Marge. Is anybody here for 67 Island Road? Yes, okay. If you can come forward and just give us a brief intro on what you're doing.
I'm our daughter Melissa, I'm the other homeowner.
And if you could just use the microphone.
Sorry.
Make sure it's green.
It's green.
Okay, perfect. Your name and address?
Melissa Canavino, 67 Island Road.
And just a quick description of what you're looking to do.
So we are installing a roll-in dock with wheels, about 26 feet.
Okay. I know a few of us were out there, Ken and I and Matt, went out on Saturday, and it was pretty straightforward where it was going. I did happen to go back, and there was a dock in that position back in the early 2000s. Then it seemed to move the other side of the property for a few years and back, so it's all graded and grassed. So just a rolling dock, and they're just going to use a plank to get from the shore onto the dock, so. Where there was already a dock there, I don't really think there's any issue here at all.
yeah, I didn't see any issue when we were on site.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Any questions or comments from the public on 67 Island Road? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion for a negative determination for the dock. So moved.
Second.
And a second. Any other discussion?
Negative's good, buddy.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All set, hit the dock.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Quick and easy.
Yes, moving forward. Say hi to your mom. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a request for determination by Celico Partnerships, DBA, as Verizon Wireless for work at 1079 Mass Ave will be held. Work entails the installation of a 75-foot monopole within the 100-foot buffer zone. And just if you can use the microphone when talking.
Sure. Good evening, Chairman, Commission members, and staff. My name is Dean Gustafson. I'm a senior wetland scientist, professional soil scientist with All Points Technology. I'm here on behalf of Celico Partnerships, this is Verizon Wireless. Proposed light pole replacement at the high school next to the track and field area. As you saw from Saturday's sidewalk, we did take a look at the proposed compound area where the equipment and emergency generator is going, located on the north side of the athletic maintenance building. The commission had a preference to move it to the south side of the building. We took a look at that and spoke with both the school department director of facilities and grounds, as well as the director of DPW, and both town agencies have approved of the revised location. That will result in keeping all the activities outside the 30-foot and 50-foot bylaw zones, buffer zones. A portion of the compound will be located within the 100-foot buffer zone.
You're the best. All right, yeah, so we were out on site on Saturday and walked it, and the original location was inside the 50-foot no structure zone, and half of it was inside the 30-foot no disturbance zone.
This is the original proposal.
And in looking at it, there was no reason why they couldn't move it to the other side of the building. Yeah. And that saved the trenching around the building, and they still have access to the building. And it's just a graded, grassed area as it is now, so.
Correct.
And then the monopole is outside of the 100-foot. I don't know if you can see it way up on the top.
In the northeast corner there.
Yep.
And this is the light pole that's being replaced.
All right. That's great. Thank you. Did you have any erosion protection?
There's, right now, the current plan shows erosion protection starting up by the proposed tower replacement area, extending all the way out to the original proposed compound location and tying into the corner of the maintenance building. What we'll do is, that line will still remain because there'll still be a trench, utility trench from the compound out to the tower. We may revise this location, but there's equipment out there that the town uses, the athletic department uses, so we may still swing that E&S line still behind it. Okay. So just to try to avoid, any disturbance to the storage of the nets and everything else they have in this area. And then we'll add a second line off the corner, the southeast corner of the maintenance garage, to encompass the proposed new compound area. So we'll be submitting revised plans to staff, just to follow up with the commission's understanding of the revised location.
Okay.
We should be able to get those submitted to staff within a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Survey just needs to go out and do some additional shots in that area, just so that they understand that it's still a fairly level area.
When are you looking to do construction?
I believe they're looking, once they get all the town approvals in place, looking to start construction, hopefully later this summer, before school starts again.
All right. So if we continued at this point, just waiting for the updated plans, that's not gonna put a crimp in your...
I don't believe so. I think they still have to go through planning for approval, so, and I'm not sure if I don't believe that a hearing date has been set yet for that. So, the commission has some time.
All right, we can communicate with them that we're all set with a new location, just waiting on the erosion protection.
All right.
That shouldn't affect their decision or findings.
Is that an intermittent stream?
Yes, yep, it's an intermittent water course. There's a culvert outfall at this location. It's a pretty well incised.
There's no associated BVW with the stream. It's receiving from a BVW that was covered way upstream.
And the USGS doesn't even show a stream in that location. So,
All right. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
I don't have any. I think with the revised plans, that's certainly acceptable to what we saw on site.
Yep. And then, it just cleans it up. Now we're not needing to give any variances.
Yep.
And the new site is just as easy as the old site for them, so I don't think it was much of a stretch. All right, any questions or comments on 1079 Mass Ave?
I have one more question. The electric line, you're gonna trench that?
yes, it'll be underground.
And you're
Underground
gonna...
all the way out from
And you're gonna
Mass Ave.
revise the plans to show erosion protection between the intermittent stream and the trench?
The current plan does show erosion control line. There's a silt fence and then a trench.
That's your erosion control line, okay.
So this tan line right here that's highlighted is your E&S line right now. So that'll provide protection between the electric trench originally came back into the compound and then came back out. This is the electric line.
Yep.
That's coming out to the to the tower. So that line, that E&S line will remain with the revised plans, and then we'll add some additional erosion control protection around the new compound location.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, any questions or comments from the public? All right, seeing none, I'll accept a motion to continue to July 5th, pending updated plans showing the updated erosion protection.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, a second, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right, so we'll just wait for there's no need to come as long as the plans are the same. Okay. Just approve it at a meeting once we've received the updated plan.
All right, great. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Jim.
So when can we expect better service?
September.
Yeah, hopefully this fall.
Excellent.
All right, moving forward, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, in Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public meeting on a notice of intent by Michael Paroli for work at 43 Island Road will be held. Work entails reconstruction of a pre-existing retaining wall with the shore of Hickory Hills Lake.
Mr. Chairman, did you have a hearing on June 7th for this?
No.
No, there was no hearing? Okay, so we don't need to do a Mullen form for that?
Nope, the Mullins form, I think, was for 380 electric, so.
As long as there's no other ones, that's fine.
Yeah, that was the only continuation from the 7th.
Okay.
Was 338, I believe it requested a continuance, so.
Okay. I just want to make sure we were covered.
Yeah, just for that one, because I have to recuse myself, so hopefully Mr. Rabbit will be showing up.
Do we have a copy of the prior plan, the prior approved plan?
This is the file.
Prior approved plan?
Because my brother's in a butter.
Right, there's no recusals on this one, right?
Nope. No, we're all good to go.
Do we know, was Jack planning on coming, or?
I just texted him, he didn't say he wasn't coming.
Hey, I never heard he wasn't either.
I did see he posted a picture on Facebook from
Someplace not in Lunenburg?
somewhere next to the Missouri River.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe that means he's not coming.
Did he respond to your request for,
You know, he had sent a few emails about when we were talking about it, so.
Did you read the thing yet?
I did, yes.
Oh, you
and,
did?
Yep, and Matt just walked for a second, so.
All right. We're just reviewing the initial notice of intent. Yep, no worries. Because I think there's work there that may not have been included in the original notice of intent.
All right, so,
Maybe,
wait for Matt, I guess.
because he takes a minute, so we're going to get back. If you look, they've got a patio out in here, and they've put walled-in beach out here, and we really couldn't find much.
I don't know if that was just a picture we were supposed to, but you have it today, so I don't think he's gonna be here.
I don't think he's gonna make it. What's the matter? Jack may not be coming.
Yep.
All right. So I guess the first thing is, so there's an expired order of conditions on this property, correct?
Correct.
Thanks. So there's an expired order of conditions on the property, but we are viewing, it looks like, some work that may have changed from what was there, from the original notice of intent.
Yep. So,
this came to the commission's attention a while back. Someone sent an anonymous picture to the commission showing a wall and beach and stairs and stuff.
yep.
And that wasn't on the original plan.
Yes, that was not part of the original plan.
And, okay, they're all reading from the same script? Yep. Thanks.
So, as the commission might be aware, there is an enforcement order on this, so as part of this whole filing card shuffle, we're requesting a certificate of compliance for the work that's completed thus far. with the understanding that this notice of intent will be open concurrently with that, so we can start on a clean slate with the new notice of intent and resolve the enforcement order associated with this project. I have brought a couple pictures. Some were included into the notice of intent, and I brought a few extras that show the current state of it. I can hand these out now if you guys would like.
Yeah, sure.
But these are the current state.
There's current and old. Historical references showing that there has been a wall in the past and a recreational beach area too. So if you skip over to, I think it would be go to the third picture. This shows the retreated water due to the drawdown, and there's a small portion of the existing wall that's shown in the corner there. As you flip to the next page, this is showing the same general area. You can actually see the the large pine tree overhead, showing the actual on that shoreline for a little bit more. For reference, that's approximately standing right here towards the back portion of the lot. On the next picture, it shows the beach recreational area with a small retaining wall surrounding that area, showing that it's been there for an extensive period of time, as you can see from the picture. And the next picture just shows, again, the recreational area and a little bit more of the stone wall, more of what it was constructed of back originally. Hopefully that will clear up a couple of these some of these issues regarding whether or not something existed or not existed in the past.
Sorry to interrupt, but these pictures, to me, it does not appear that it was wall. It appears that it was shoreline protection using riprap or large stone.
And that's exactly what's there now.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed at all.
It definitely doesn't look like there was a wall that's just kind of eroded over time. It
Those
just
same
looked like
cobblestones that are in that picture from 1994 are still there.
Yep. Okay.
That's new that's a new construction. Yep. Yep, yep.
Actual walls, not
Correct.
cobbles.
Correct. These cobbles come around, in the third picture, they come around, the cobbles come around the corner, and then that new wall starts basically on the other side of that large
So now-
pine tree.
Yep, so if you were to look at the first picture, this picture was taken approximately right about here, facing this general area. So that's showing the beach area, where it was and where it has been. So that wall has been embellished upon and has been increased, and the slope behind it has been raised around it to create a more gentle slope towards the lake. Second picture kind of shows the limit of the work that's been completed as so far regarding the actual retaining wall, which is about right here. So this picture, second picture, would be located viewing here, looking in this general direction, back towards the lake again. And this third picture is showing what's currently there. That's the remaining portion that hasn't been completed at this point in time. For reference, the third picture is essentially viewing from this point, looking towards the stairwell. You can actually see the stairwell, I believe it's the stairwell, just around that large pine tree in the corner of it.
By where that big boulder is there.
Correct.
And then this picture is taken,
Back in '94, so that picture would be essentially sitting out here in the lake during the drawdown and looking towards the actual, I guess you call it recreational area across the lake too. The picture following that just kind of embellishes more upon that.
and do we know when this picture was taken? About?
Approximately. It's older than I am probably. With me is the homeowners, maybe they can clarify that a little bit more.
These are the originals. So sometimes on the back, which one are you looking at?
This one? That one.
This one? Oh, what's that? Can you see?
Says Kodak. October, a long time ago. I think it's October 90. But
Okay.
this is excellent, this is exactly what the commission was asking for, I know.
apologize, it wasn't more clearer pictures. It's something you don't take a
I wish
picture
I
of,
could figure out who that
unfortunately.
little kid was, because they're all grown up now.
Can I see the original? I think that this picture actually is a better representation.
Yep, that one was discovered only a few days ago,
Going
so.
to dock?
Yep.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
So this must have been when maybe they were rebuilding the dam?
When it was that low?
Why would it, yeah, because they've never, that must have been it, because they've never had a drawdown that I can remember.
It was that?
Yeah.
That significant?
I mean, that's down 5 feet, 6 feet. That's down quite a ways.
Yeah, 94, that would have been about the time they were rebuilding the dam, I
Rebuilding the
think,
dam,
yeah.
yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Yep.
So, I guess what is the application that we're looking at today? It's to put the addition of that wall on, is that what that is?
The purpose behind this, the new area is to reestablish a wall.
Down right here. Let's see how low the water is.
We're going to talk with the commission regarding whether it would be acceptable to do more of the cobble thing or doing more of a natural setting along the remaining portion of the shoreline. I understand that in the past it was shown as more of a stabilization structure.
I have a comment on it. But there's no application for this one. Correct. And that's not part of this application. So you're saying that you're not going to apply for this one? That was the subject of the enforcement action to begin with?
The notice of intent was in order to get the wall that has been constructed thus far under approval and allowed. We understand that it has been done prior to that, which is not ideal, but that was the request behind that. It was my understanding back when we decided to do the enforcement order, when that all came to be, that that would happen.
So you're showing the existing, it's been constructed, it's under enforcement, as well as the proposed to complete the project.
Seek approval for that.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So I guess to start with myself, looking from the pictures, I don't really see any evidence of a formal wall where you're looking to continue the wall.
Yep.
It just, to me, looks like stones that we're just trying to put up there over time to help prevent erosion.
Yep.
Which has done a pretty good job. I mean, the tree, in going back at least 18 years in the overheads, it doesn't look like the banking has eroded much at all. So I think if we update the erosion protection along that area like we did over on Reservoir Road where you were the engineer.
Yes.
I think that would go a long way to continuing to protect that banking along through there.
Okay.
I don't see any need to have to put a wall in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in favor of seeing any more wall go in there.
Yes, no, I think just a regular bank remediation should work perfectly along there.
Okay.
Yeah, especially in here, it's a small motored lake, so you don't tend to get a lot of, what am I looking at?
Original NOI.
Okay. Okay. So myself, I would not be in favor of any additional wall in through there.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think what's there now, if they added a little bit to what's there now, or even move some of those rocks back up into place, I think that would be sufficient.
Yep. Yeah, and now moving into that stone step area, do we have a reason that we put that there?
Personally, I don't know.
I see those pictures again.
It appears that there had been stone steps there.
The one that shows the beach and the dock.
Thank you, Matt.
That's what we're going to come back again to the document.
On the side where the walkway is.
Yeah, see, the dog right in front of the stone steps there.
Well, honestly, I think those stone steps is this right here, the beach. I don't, honestly,
The second set of stone steps.
Is there a second set of stone steps?
Well, there's the big one by the beach,
This looks like it's the beach.
right, and then there's the stone steps, the other set of
Yeah,
stone
but the little stone steps, I don't see
I
any
don't see those in this.
historical
Yeah, right.
pictures of that at all, either. Nope, sorry.
No, it unfortunately doesn't show that area.
No, because in looking at...
Those are the pictures, those steps right there is that recreational?
That is, yes, okay. And kind of looking at this, it's, what was the one that had the... I mean, this one, it looks like it has a stone step, but then you follow along, I mean, there's no wall down in through here along the banking either.
Is this wall right here?
I think that is these steps.
Steps.
I think that's this original set of steps. That's a continuation, so there really, I myself can't see any wall even from the beach area down and around.
Can I say anything?
Oh, yes.
You have to come up and speak in the microphone.
I don't know how many years ago it was, but Michael was young, and there used to be a cement walk coming where those little steps are.
Yeah.
Over to there, and he kept a boat there, which would never work now, but in those days.
Is this what you're referring to via this walkway here? It's on the plan?
Trying to orient myself.
Yes, that's the original,
Oh, here we go, okay, so there used to be is this the water?
Yes, this is the water here.
The water here, and this appears to be a walkway that...
That's right, that's exactly, and here's that great big tree. That's exactly what it was. And so that went down to the water. And so when they did the wall, we took this out, and he put that, like, to replace, he just did it to replace that.
Okay.
But you could never it's an awkward place to have a boat at this point. Right.
And the wall was built in the middle 50s, with cobblestones that came from Mount Auburn Street in Watertown.
Okay.
And they went all the way back to the big rock that's back there.
Yep.
But over the years, they didn't drain the lake, so the ice would push
Right.
and retract. Cobblestones started breaking and falling in. We didn't carry cobblestones and throw them in the ground. We carried them and laid them in concrete. I mean, if you get a shovel and dig where the wall was, you're gonna find a footing.
I mean, myself, I did kind of look to see if there was any remnants of the
I didn't see
concrete around the cobblestone, and all I saw was cobblestones. I didn't see, I walked that whole thing, starting where the poison ivy came, and unfortunately, really didn't see much
Well,
there,
if you
so.
were on the backside, crossing the public beach, the wall was this high. And you're just not gonna lay cobblestones on top of each other that high. We had many, many Italian relatives on weekends up there, building that wall.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, based on the pictures that I've seen and the walkway that's shown on the plan, I'm not wild about the wall that went in, but I think that it's there, and there was some historical evidence that there was something there in the past. I'm certainly not in favor of any additional concrete-type walls on that property, but I think what's there now is kind of what's done is done, and there was some historical evidence that there was things there in the past, so that's sort of my opinion.
I agree with you too. I agree with Ken.
So you go.
I just wanted to say that I agree with Ken's comments.
Yeah, I frankly was skeptical that there was ever a beach there, and there's clear photographic evidence that there was a beach, and great job on coming up with the photographic evidence. And so I'm satisfied with that, and I'm satisfied that there is historical precedent for this work. But again, if they were asking to start from scratch on that wall, I wouldn't approve that wall, but I agree with Ken at this point.
All right. So that was the only work you were proposing on this notice of intent here?
Correct, just for the completion of the wall. Further stabilization along that length.
I think, as we've stated in the past, I think we need to be careful about what we're calling a wall and what we're calling bank stabilization, so.
Yes, sir, we'll call it bank stabilization.
All right. Certainly not a vertical wall.
And I'd like to see the plan amended so it doesn't say wall anymore, so it says proposed bank stabilization.
So at this point, all the rest of the construction is completed?
Correct, the septic system has been installed, and that's up and running. The house is constructed, everything's loam and seeded. I was out there back in, I want to say, early May, late April, and the grass was already starting to go.
Yeah, the grass is, I mean, based on the site visit, we were there the other day, the grass is well established.
Yep, so that should be all squared away and going.
Looks like the geese are fertilizing it for you.
Yeah.
Can you create a detail that shows your proposed bank stabilization, just so there's no ambiguity moving forward? I think I'd like to see a specific detail of what you're proposing before I'd really want to vote to approve.
Like a profile.
Absolutely.
I agree.
All right, so you're asking for a certificate of compliance on the old design?
Yep, on the old system, or for the construction of the house and the septic system.
Okay. Is there any, reason why we should not really have an open order condition, an open notice of intent to propose?
Do that or hold off. The other project is completed, issue both certificates.
Is the house in the location where it was proposed?
Yes.
Yes.
Within that original footprint of that building, it should be. If you want, I can hold it up and we can just compare property lines real quick, too, as an option.
Do you have something here on this corner? I can't read that.
I think it's an above-ground deck that's coming off of here now.
Yeah, so there should be a,
Yeah, it looks like they have a boundary line there for it. And the patio was just in tighter, the patio came out a little further with a deck, or what is it? Is that above?
so you have an above-ground deck, and then you have a ground floor patio right through
Okay,
there.
so the patio definitely came out much further.
And that deck is in two sections?
Correct.
Yep, okay.
But we're still outside the 30-foot buffer.
2012.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, one thing that I just did happen to see here, there was supposed to be a few trees planted on the original notice of intent.
Was that the birch trees that are there now, or is that in addition to
It says off the
those?
side, it says 2 new deciduous trees will to be planted within a 30-foot buffer to mitigate existing and construction disturbance.
So there's a couple new birches, I know there's a small maple that's growing up near the, a little off to the, just a little more north of the pine tree.
Yeah.
I do remember seeing a really small maple tree.
Yeah, 1 incher.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a tiny little guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they were referring to in the
Yeah, 'cause it
plans.
has it actually pointed up towards the northeast corner, so.
Okay.
may want to just add that in if we get those planted. There's a call out in the north corner, up on the hillside a little bit, down at the front. Other than that, everything else, if the building looks like it's in the same location, so. And this was filed as a notice of intent?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so if we get it, from what I'm hearing, we'll get this plan updated with the removal of the wall, call out, and a bank remediation, and a detail on your remediated plan.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. And a time schedule on when we're gonna get that done.
I can have that done.
Oh, the wall. Yeah, I would rather not have a 3-year order of conditions.
Yeah,
I'd rather have the wall in place before the end of the year.
Seeing how the slope is actually eroding right now, it'd be sooner rather than later.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments at this point? Does that cover everybody's?
I think personally, as far as the order of condition, I mean, the certificate of compliance goes, I think, for me, I'd be in favor of signing them both when that work on that bank stabilization was done.
Okay.
But I don't know what anybody else's thoughts are on it.
So sign the order of conditions when we, or sign the certificate of compliance when we
everything is
issue the
done.
order of conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with that, so. All right. Any questions or comments from the public on 43 Island Road? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to continue this hearing until July 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, so we'll continue looking for the updated plans.
Absolutely.
We can address it again on the 5th, so.
Aye.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All right, thank you. Moving forward, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended, in the Town of Lunenburg, Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaw, a public hearing on a request for determination by Jerry Croto for work at 55 Wildwood Road will be held. Work entails construction of a post and beam barn within the 100-foot buffer zone.
We were right there the other day. We didn't do a site visit.
Surprise, yeah.
Actually, I was up there with Carl and Jack.
Might want to just grab a chair.
Oh, okay. We had to mix up with the abutter notification.
Oh, okay, all right, so,
There was no issue, he just had to do the abutter
okay,
notification.
so we have had eyes on the site, some of us that aren't here tonight, unfortunately.
All right, Mr. Croto, what are we looking to do?
Put up a 24 by 30 barn.
Yeah, just use the microphones. Do we have plans?
Yes.
Okay. Can we see the plans?
I don't have the plans for the building
Okay.
with me. It's a single story, post and beam.
But we got the survey plan on the location of the building, location of the wetlands.
We have all those papers, we gave them to Matt.
Oh, I got some here. I got some more pictures.
I made up 4 copies for everybody.
The extra drawings, I think I left the file in the office.
See what they got that. I got 2 of these, and I got the picture ones.
Okay.
2 are given me.
In relation to the house, where is the barn gonna go, where that little blue dot is?
No.
Okay,
Right where this, see where the driveway kind of
Yep,
peeks up
sure.
right here?
so it's gonna go kinda like that?
Yeah.
In the grass area?
The grass area.
Yeah, actually, the first thing we did was when we walked on the site, we looked to make sure there was no tree cutting. There was no tree clearing involved. It's on an existing grass area right next to another facility.
And the wetlands, Matt, are,
Look at the,
No, if it's on the cloud, I can grab it.
where are the wetlands in relation to the,
Further back.
they're about
75
75 feet.
Yeah, 75 feet we are to the corner of the building.
is that how that's oriented?
They would have been in, let's see. Where's the road? Here's the road. Here's the driveway.
So it's sort of oriented like, yeah, like that.
And where was the wetland?
70 feet back.
This is the house?
Oh, yeah,
This is the down low.
Yeah, so it comes in, we're just looking at the
And is
property line.
this the little, this thing, doohickey here?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I think it's like that, and like that.
This is schematic showing the actual.
So, that fair distance. Yeah. That was wrong, we just did it with it down.
Oh, so all your stuff is downloaded?
Oh, we got it.
Oh, cool.
Intermittent stream.
Is that running along the back? Yeah.
Why do I think that that's not an intermittent stream?
I think we had a question on that, on another filing on Wildwood.
Is that on the GIS? I thought that,
Remember when Tom submitted all those papers with the stream and the whole thing, and it wasn't identified, it was identified as an intermittent stream because of the amount of wetlands that were around it. There wasn't enough wetlands to say it was an active stream year-round. It does dry up in the summertime.
So that'll be this thing.
Yeah, might want the backside.
because it does show it as a stream. On the GIS that was submitted.
Which GIS you're looking at? The assessor, Oliver? Oh, that, but it's a solid.
Here's a picture of the stream right there.
Yeah, well, we get, change the overlay. Base map down the bottom. No. Changing that to the GIS. Nope, it's not that one.
When was the house built?
1980?
1980.
Should have it there.
Does this thing have a scale on it?
No. Yeah, 0 meters.
When you're looking to construct it,
As soon as we get the okay.
is there a foundation to it, or just on a slab?
No, it's gonna be a foundation.
So there's gonna be a frost wall foundation?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that blue line at the bottom?
You got a building here.
It's not up to the wetland. It's not a dash line, that's a solid line, correct?
Well, we don't do dash lines on Oliver anyway.
Okay. So is it listed as an intermittent or a perennial?
So you said something before about somebody had submitted some stuff about whether it was...
did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, this is like the third time we're here.
Okay.
I made 4 copies. Tom from, he was
Tidman.
from conservationist, he actually walked the property, walked off the wetlands, and he put the whole package together. He's got 4 copies of all that information.
So you've seen it, Matt, that it is not a perennial stream?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, Tom's been doing this type of stuff for a while.
Yeah, no, I'm just, unfortunately, without having it in front of me to see something, it makes it,
It would be in there somewhere.
yeah.
You have it over in
Tom's
your office,
packet?
right?
Right, but he also has a file.
I'm not, okay, this watershed drawing?
Yeah, the watershed drawing shows that it's not big enough.
Okay, I guess that's what it's supposed to
Shed,
be.
a garage, what is that?
I don't know. What's the other small outbuilding that's on that little... outcrop?
Shed.
That's a shed.
Shed.
All right, who went out and saw it, Matt, with you?
Me, Carl, and Jack.
Okay.
They didn't have any issues with it.
All right, so they weren't concerned about any erosion protection or
They
anything like
didn't
that?
need anything about erosion protection. I mean, we should have erosion protection between the limit of work.
Yeah.
Anyway, just as a precaution. It's
Okay.
flat going to that wetland as it is, but just have it as a precaution.
Yeah.
But as far as the work itself and the shed and the placement, they had no issues with it.
Okay.
And if anything, it was because there wasn't gonna be any trees cut down, it was on an existing lawn.
And Carl put that in writing.
I don't know if you put it in writing or not,
I thought that was in his notes that he sent for
I
tonight.
may have. I know he sent a bunch of notes, so.
Would you like to see a picture of the proposed area?
Well, we have the overhead.
No, I mean, I actually took a picture.
Yeah, sure, if
Try to
you've got
help
one.
you out.
I haven't been on site, so if you've got one, I'd like
sure.
to see it, sure. I guess I don't really see any issue with this. It's already a pre-existing sort of disturbed area. I don't see any real issue with it.
That little white spot, right here?
Yep.
Yeah, here's a corner of it right there. and
Okay,
that's-
perfect.
That's the four corners right there.
Is that where you park an RV or something?
Yeah, well, actually, my truck.
Okay.
Right. So it's gonna be coming right off
Yep,
of
sure.
that spot right
Yep,
there.
sort of
You'll
where
see
those stakes are.
Where the stakes are.
Yep.
Right. That's
So no
okay.
trees are getting cut.
Yep, no, it looks like it's all lawn area.
Right.
What is it, is mulch or
Yeah, that's right.
leaves or something?
The leaves.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, blow all the leaves in the fall.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep, yep, looks okay to me. I would like to see just erosion protection maybe on that, the wood line there, or the leaf line, or whatever that is, just a, either
It
a bale
is
line.
listed in their application.
Yes, actually, Tom recommended it. What do
Any
they call it,
wattles will be
wattles?
installed
Yep,
as
straw wattles.
for the duration of construction.
Yep, I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do not have any other questions.
All right, Todd?
To me, the application was a little incomplete.
Yeah, that's my problem too.
I don't know that I'm comfortable voting on this without a little bit more complete of a plan showing what...
The actual application's over at the office.
He's got it all. It's all over in his office. I made 4 copies of everything.
Apparently, I wrote up what happened was at the meeting last time, they didn't do the abutter notification.
Yep.
For whatever reason.
Right.
And they did the abutter notification, and I said basically, I'll write up the determination, assuming that, the commission decides to issue it, which I did, and writing it up, I left the file on the desk. And I can go get it.
I think we should.
I listened to that hearing, or non-hearing, because you couldn't actually have a hearing because of the abutter notice, and I remember hearing people say, well, there's no problem with this, the 4 people who were present at that meeting, which, so, if I'm mistaken, please correct me, but,
Well, the 3 people that were there, that walked the site were there last month.
yeah.
We
2
couldn't
weeks
vote
ago.
on it anyway, because I think Tommy Bertram had a relative that was in it.
No, that was excused because it was his uncle, but they wanted the abutters, they wanted the abutter notification. So, okay, so we did that. I didn't realize it had to be done, because,
Right, no, I recall that. I still think we just need to have the application over here, at least.
can we go get it, so I don't have to have another meeting?
Yeah, no, I think so, absolutely.
Okay, great.
I can go get it, it'll take me a few minutes.
All right, thank you.
Should we take a recess while Matt goes to get that, or is there other stuff we can do?
Actually, yeah, we can take a quick recess and move forward to the next hearing, or go over some of the other items.
Tell the bylaw people we don't have a quorum for that.
So actually, with your permission, we're going to continue this for a few minutes while Matt's gone.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'll accept a motion to continue this hearing until Matt returns with the information.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Greg, come down front really quick. We do not, unfortunately, my brother is an abutter, so we can open it and continue it, but I can't deliberate or vote on it, so.
Yeah.
We'll just open it and continue it moving forward.
Fun times.
Sorry about that, we've had 1 member that's resigned and
Yeah.
1 member and 2 members that are off, so.
Yeah.
And I thought that the 4th member was here, but he isn't.
Yeah.
So, all right. Okay. So at this point, I'll open the hearing for the purpose of continuing it pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaw. Public meeting on a continued notice of intent by Daniel and Jane Proctor for work at 383, 90, and 400 Electric Ave will be held. Work entails construction of a car wash and bus parking area with partial restoration of land within the 200-foot riverfront, 100-foot buffer zone of the wetland area. For disclosure, my brother is a direct abutter to this property, so I do not want to participate in any of the discussions or voting on it, but for this evening, I will vote to continue.
Mr. Chairman, before you vote to continue, I just want to go on the record saying that myself and Bob Pease have signed the Mullen Rule certification for this hearing.
Okay.
I've reviewed the minutes and the audio recording of the hearing.
As did I.
All right?
If I could just go on record, thank you very much for doing that, I appreciate it.
All right, so with the applicant's permission, we'll continue to July 5th.
Yes, we appreciate that, thank you.
Any other discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the public? I'll accept the motion then for continuing to the July 5th hearing.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Sorry about that, Greg.
Steal my pen.
Oh, yeah.
I got my eyes on it.
And I don't see anybody here for 338. So at this point, we can open that and continue it. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a continued public hearing to amend a notice of intent by Jeffrey Viviano for work at 338 Sunset Lane will be held. Work entails a placement of boulder on north side and a tree house and the addition of a dock within a 100-foot buffer zone of a wetland resource area. Seeing no applicants, I'll accept the motion to continue to July 5th.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Who was it, Ken and Todd?
Yep.
That's a stack.
Yes, it is. And Matt ran out of the little,
Sticky notes.
sticky notes, so you gotta flip through to find it.
Thumb through it.
Anthony, do you have anything to hand out?
What's that?
Do you have any plans to hand out for us, or just that one big master?
No, GIS.
Oh, okay.
You ready for me?
No, but we're just kinda waiting for Matt, and figured we'd move it along, just to see if you had anything for us, okay? Thank you.
That way, show what's happening, instead of, white plan. Do you want me to now, you want to wait?
No, we'll just wait quick, but we can just, gives us something to look at. And this is as it sits, no, this isn't as it sits today.
Sorry about that.
This is exactly what's...
Well, actually, see this little, but you can see the bump there.
It's a scale on here. Well, it's been photocopied and blown up, so it might not be accurate. Oh, okay.
So that's, I think, 50, Darrell said 50, okay, I'm fine with that. Yep.
Shall we reopen that?
All right, yep. So we'll call our 55 Wildwood Road hearing back to order.
Yep. Didn't miss any of that.
No, I have everything here.
Yeah, I couldn't see the scale on it, so that's...
Oh, okay.
If you look at my notes, however brief,
Yep.
for the meeting, I did note that it was 77 feet away, it was, 77 feet was the closest point to any resource area.
Yep.
And that was based on my measuring it off the flags.
All right, so any other discussion on 55 Wildwood?
I don't have any other discussion.
All right. So seeing none, I'll accept a motion for, and this was an IDA?
Negative.
Yeah, for a negative determination.
So moved.
with the caveat that we ensure that erosion protection is in place along the wood line between the construction and the stream.
I'll accept that amendment.
Second.
We'll amend it? Yep. Okay, and then we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, you're all set, gentlemen?
Thank you.
Thank you. And moving forward. Okay, Matt, just the update, we did continue...
Positive determinations?
What's that?
All the ones we're signing, they're all positive
They were all
determinations?
negative, I have to change the language on them.
Okay, all right, I was confused.
For some reason, my word, my version, I gotta do something on my version of the word, it's just been acting weird.
Yeah, so we opened and continued 380
Okay.
to the 5th, and
Do we
we...
not have enough?
I can't vote. I mean, I can't participate in the discussion or the approval of, so there's 4 of us here, so we opened it for continuation only. And we opened and continued Viviano, because I don't see anybody here for Viviano. All right, moving forward, we have a discussion with Gary Goldrip, who's a forester, who is looking to produce a forest cutting plan for us on the small town forest. Good evening, Gary. What's in today? Good.
Well, you know what it was, the word either started changing things like survey or what was that, landscaper?
Oh,
You
yes,
changed
yeah.
words on me, or changed words back that I changed. So, here, it's your...
All right, so we're starting a discussion this evening for the purpose of developing a forest cutting plan on the small town forest. Yep, we had forest stewardship plans done, which you provided on the small town forest and 4 other properties, and this was a property recommended to do the forest cutting on first, because it was showing, the biggest reason was because of the indulged killing off the hemlocks in the upper part of the property, so seemed like a really good one to get started on.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind, just give us a little overview on the process, and just because we're on TV, just again, why you recommended this property first.
Sure. Well, the small town forest, relatively unmanaged, like several of the
Make sure you get the mic, so.
through town, but the need for harvesting or management at the small town forest primarily being the hemlock stands that are declining in health due to the hemlock woolly indulgent. So the recommendation in the forest management plan that we prepared for you was to salvage, remove as much of the hemlock component that we felt would be declining relatively soon, not to take it all, but to harvest the majority of it so that you don't have an issue where you're trying to remove dead trees that have no value. Right now, they have commercial value that we really feel that you could take advantage of at this time before it loses its value.
Okay, so there's still value there in the trees that we'll harvest,
Yes,
but short-lived value.
short-term, yes. Hemlock's not a big dollar-producing species. It does have sawlog value, pulp value, and chip value, but the emphasis would be to remove it in favor of benefiting the red oak, white pine, mixed hardwood trees that are developing, or replacing these trees with new regeneration in the understory to take their place, trying to promote a forest of pine, oak, mixed hardwood at this time. Yep.
And where you have a knowledge of the property now, would there be any detriment or any reason why people still could continue to use it once it's been harvested? Or once we perform the forest cutting on it?
Yeah, I think it's mutually beneficial for both recreation and your timber and your wildlife management options. So any of the management that's done will recognize the recreational opportunities, the trails, avoiding or using them in areas where they're not going to be impacting the quality of your recreational trail system, crossing them at right angles if we need to pull timber across them, but they'd all be managed properly so that we're not ruining that experience. I think you'll probably be expanding the trail system through the harvesting trails that end up going, in order to get to sections of the property where you don't have trails, you'll now have trails through the process of pulling timber through the...
So we can dictate as part of the forest cutting plan that trails be designed and developed in such a way that we can continue to use them after?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and it may give you opportunities to create other trails into areas that are
Currently don't have access now, so.
Mr. Chairman, I think one other advantage specifically to this site is that parking right now is very limited. And I think that, you know, they'd have to have a log landing or something near the street, so I think that that would actually be beneficial to improve that as a small parking area once they were done with the logging operations.
Right. And that can be done. There are kind of two theories on that. A lot of landowners like to put the landing away from the street so that you don't have these great big openings right on the access point. There are opportunities where you could actually get the equipment to an area that's away from the road, higher, where the disturbance wouldn't be seen right from the road.
Okay.
But you can also create that parking space at the same time.
I'd just like to keep that in mind as we go forward, that might be an option.
It's there in a commercial sale where the whole tree is probably going to be pulled. They're going to need about an acre to process everything. You may not want a parking lot that's...
An acre, right.
In size.
But I'd like to at least keep that in the back of our mind, that we could potentially improve some sort of a parking area for that site.
So there's definitely improvements that we can be making while we're doing the harvesting.
Yes.
You know, it's not just a clear cut, other than the hemlocks that'll be coming out. We're not taking every tree off of the property, we're just performing a management cut to get rid of the trees that are gonna die off rather soon anyways.
I would look at it as the management plan describes, individual and group selection harvesting with more intense areas of salvage in the hemlock stands.
So would we be cutting more than hemlock?
Yep, and as part of the sale, there are going to be areas where you don't really have a whole lot of hemlock, but you may be in a situation where you have a overstocked pine oak stand where you could benefit from thinning them, just like thinning carrots in your garden. You're trying to extract trees that have a commercial value, but trying to promote the growth of those that need that additional sunlight and less competition with other trees.
And would we be taking most of the hemlocks in the property? How would that work as far as...
Yeah, I think the way we had discussed it is, I don't like to take them all. That there's the fact that the adelgid is, its presence is there, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to eliminate everything very quickly. I would more be focused on removing those trees that are currently chlorotic or show signs of a lot of stress, and remove them first. Over a period of time, you may have to return to get more of them. So, but I would kind of focus on those that are in the greatest decline in health, and then if you need to come back at a later time, you can. And we're only harvesting a portion of the property, so if you needed to return at a later date to get the rest, you might set up on another section to do a commercial sale where you could do that in a pine oak stand, but then go out and get the hemlock if you needed to at a later date.
Okay.
So it's crop rotation.
So I know you haven't designed the plan yet, but you've been out there. I think it's a 250-acre piece. How much of that would be under?
I took about 50 acres as a number to start with, and that would be mostly the areas to the northern part of the property, rather than the southern part. Because there's more hemlock there, and the concentrations are higher, so it would be more of the northern section. Now, there's a nice pine stand in that northern section that you could thin at the same time. So you are extracting trees that have value and trees that have low quality.
And because this is in an ACEC, there's a limited window that we have to do the harvesting, correct?
Potentially, yes. Probably Blanding's turtle. That's my guess.
Yep.
And there's a time constraint on when you can be in there between, the harvesting operation is allowed from November 1st through March 15th.
Okay.
So kind of we'd be setting it up this summer in preparation for a winter harvest.
So then they're out and done before the spring comes?
Yes.
And you get a big flush of growth, and other than a little more sun, we shouldn't really know that they were in there, and a few more trails.
Oh, it'll be a big change.
Yep.
Timber harvesting is an impact, and no doubt. But it's a change that you want to see improve your woodlot into the future rather than be a detriment.
Okay.
That's our job, to help assist you with that.
All right, and you had presented a proposal to Matt. Can you just kind of go over that a little bit, how your billings work and?
Yep.
Okay.
So I do it in different ways with different towns, municipalities. The larger towns, municipalities usually send out what they call an RFP, a request for proposals. And in that request for proposals, it identifies the scope of work, what you are doing, your qualifications, so it is a bid document. And then there are other towns that I don't go through that process, Dunstable, Pepperell, a lot of the towns, Shirley, they don't have a formal RFP bidding process. And it's basically a proposal that I submit. It is a proposal for the work to be done with a work order. So I sent Matt a proposal for the work to be done with our fee schedule attached in a work order. So it's a working agreement contract between the New England Forestry Consultants and the town of Lunenburg.
Okay. And so how do you get paid? Your services are funded from the proceeds of the harvest itself?
Correct.
Okay.
So in our work order, the services, I'll just read it. Matt, you have that? Do you have the work order?
Yeah, I can look it up, I can look for it.
Okay, I have it here. So I made a proposal based on the gross value of timber to be cut, which I felt was around $500 per acre. On 50 acres, that's going to be about $25,000 gross value to the town of Lunenburg. Our services at the rate of, hold on a second, 20% of the gross sale of the timber, and there's a fee schedule that we have. So it's 20% based on a certain gross value, and any other services associated with the project would be billed hourly, $70 per hour, or boundary identification. That's basically your only service that needs to be done in order to locate boundaries. That's separate.
Okay.
So that's all outlined in the proposal and the work order.
Okay. And the boundary work can get funded out of the proceeds as well?
It can.
Okay.
So as your agent, what we do is we do several things. We prepare the cutting plan for the work to be done. A copy goes to you, the Conservation Commission, and to the State Forester. Once the forest cutting plan is approved, then we get out and start to solicit bids. We go through a bid process where we would identify the area, the resource product, and we send them out to bid to those people who we feel would be the right fit for this harvest. And probably somebody with a whole tree chipper because of the volume of wood coming out, the aesthetics, the importance of aesthetics, and fire management. You don't want to be leaving a lot of slash on the property. So we put that out to bid. Those bids come into town through your purchasing agent, whatever, and a bid is accepted. We then develop a contract for the purchaser and the
We, you
seller.
mean you?
Yes, so as your agent. So you, the seller, the town of Lunenburg, and whoever the buyer is. we develop an agreement, a cutting agreement, a contract, which identifies the requirements of the harvest, the payment terms, the performance, the insurance, all of those things are addressed in a contract, which we can send you an example as well. Okay. We remain on the property till the project is completed, making sure that all of the resources are being protected, all of the skid trails are closed down, water bars put in, all of those things. So we see the sale through to its completion.
Yeah.
And so we would collect their payment for timber, keep the portion that is our service fee, and send you the net payment as your agent.
So can I summarize what I heard and correct me where I was wrong? So your payment would, the costs to the commission or to the town would be 20% of the gross sales plus $70 an hour for a boundary?
Boundary work.
For boundary work?
Yeah.
And how many hours do you guess, just a guess?
I made a proposal for the boundary work to be about $1,000, plus or minus. That was,
So you think it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 hours of work?
yes, a day and a half, 2 days of work to identify the property lines. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, so, and in that proposal that I gave, that's standard to, when we bid on work for towns in a RFP, that's what they want. They want the scope of work and what are your fees. So I basically sent Matt our fee schedule for timber sales. So the 20% on this particular sale is for a sale with a stumpage value of $20,000 to $65,000. If the value is higher, our fees go down. And if it's much lower than the $20,000 sale, then it's billed hourly. So there's a fee schedule. It's not just a fixed fee. It depends on the project that you're working on.
So if it comes in way less than you anticipate or significantly higher than you anticipate, then the fee scale
It
changes.
changes, right. So if we're doing a firewood sale or a chip sale that has no value, we're not working on a percentage, we're doing it by the hour.
By the hour.
So that's why I sent Matt our fee schedule for services.
But you're estimating that this sale would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000?
Yes, that's the estimate. So if it was, much higher, that it won't be different in terms of the percentage that we get for the sale.
All right, and in your experience, if it's a $25,000 gross value, what is the cost of the harvest?
The cost of
The harvest?
our service,
Nope, of the harvester.
what is the cost of the harvester? He's paying you for the timber. So you're not paying him.
So his pay would not be coming out of the $25,000 gross?
No.
That's just the gross after he's taken and been paid?
Yes, so it goes, they bid on the timber, and they're paying the town of Lunenburg for that resource. It's not a cost, it's not land clearing, they're not being paid a service fee. They are basically a vendor, they're buying something from you. And so it's commodity, they're buying it, and it has no impact on
you guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to just get a full idea of exactly how it's paid, how the income comes, so.
So they're paying for that timber resource as it stands.
Yeah.
So there's a cost associated. They gotta cut it, they gotta fell it, they gotta fill it, they gotta process it, they gotta truck it. So the difference in what they're gonna get paid at the mill, obviously, is much higher. So they're determining, well, what is it gonna cost me to get that to the mill? What is the mill paying me? So in their bid process, it's all based on costs associated with getting that standing tree to the sawmill, to the firewood processor, and the chip mill.
Okay.
So that's it. You pay them nothing, they're paying you.
Okay, all right, so we get the net proceeds after they've taken their costs out, all right. And I think when we first talked to you, as our agent, would develop the RFP documents, the contract documents, and whomever for the town would just approve those. I think that purchasing agent is the town manager.
So I have a couple that I can send. City of Haverhill, we develop, they send us a RFP. I have a copy of that I can send out. Lunenburg asked for the same thing. What do you do? How do you go about sending out an RFP? I have a whole list of things that I sent to them.
Okay.
So you can take a look at their RFP.
Yep.
And, I mean, they're quite technical.
How many towns do you do this for?
Haverhill, Gardner, Leominster's not active right now, they're not doing anything. Shirley, Pepperell, there's a bunch.
You said Dunstable?
The Dunstable.
Okay, so
that's
quite a
one of the
few.
big ones.
All right.
I'd say Sudbury, several, over the course of,
In the work order, item 3, where you get into the cost, you say that actions of the client, if your costs are payable if a result of our actions, the town of Lunenburg actions, timber sale doesn't go through. How often have you had to run into that particular scenario?
never with a town. I have with private clients who, for whatever reason, have chosen not to.
Okay.
Whether they're going to sell the land, we're not comfortable.
But for a public entity,
For a public entity, I have not.
okay.
I will say, no. City of Leominster chose not to go through with the sale. They had issues with their trail systems.
So you went through with your marketing estimating and all the marketing costs, and have this, essentially the stage set to make a harvest, and they decided to not move forward.
That's correct. They chose not to. I was paid whatever our fee schedule was for that particular project.
Thank you.
You stated that you would be concentrating in the north end of the property?
Yes.
So that's like the farthest from the road. So I'm assuming they would make like access roads to get back there, access...
Yep. So what we would do we would try to put our skid trails where your hiking trails are not. There may be areas where we're going to have to cross them from time to time. The skid trails would be placed where they can comfortably operate equipment, so it's got to be geologically, on the higher sections of the property, avoiding wetlands, obviously, insofar as we practically can.
And how would we go about posting the property? Because I would imagine we don't want people up there while the harvest is active.
That's entirely up to you. Most towns, we do not. They have not posted them.
Yep.
We have put up signs indicating what's going to happen, but have never posted them.
Okay.
In your past experience, what sort of issues have come up, of public concern during these sorts of cutting plans?
Oh, yeah. The education component to these is huge. It's very important. Getting a pre-harvest site walk, educational opportunity for the residents, abutters, everybody who might be interested. Sometimes you get a lot of people to show up, sometimes you get very few. But it's important to at least give them the opportunity to come and hear what the plan is, what the course of action is, because when trees start to fall, that's when people really get wound up. But if you've paved the way and given people an opportunity to come and hear what's happening, it really deflates the anxiety, because that's really what it is. It's people that don't have a working educational knowledge of timber harvesting. Those people that are going to come out of the woodwork very quickly.
And so is that educational component part of your services?
Yes.
Or is that...
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm invited, and I lead the site walks on all of the projects. I always recommend that they do this, that a client does this in a municipality. So we invite the public, we walk the woodlot, I get to show them exactly what trees are being cut, because each tree that's being cut will be marked with paint, identified.
Each tree?
Each tree.
Okay.
And so everybody can, that's the language in forestry that between the landowner, the logger, and the forester, the practitioner, we know what's going to be cut. And that gives us an opportunity to educate the public by taking a site walk and saying, okay, this is why I chose this particular tree. I ought to have an answer. If you had 10 different foresters, you'll have 10 different trees marked sometimes. It is an art as much as it is a science. But by putting trees on paint and taking the public out, I can at least explain why was this done? What are the benefits? And that should be the emphasis of the site work is why you're doing this. There should be a benefit to what we're doing here, working on the town resource.
Sidewalks, they do help.
Yep, oh, I bet. They definitely want to have it as public as possible.
Right.
So there are as few questions when it actually happens, so.
Because when it does happen, you really don't want to stop it.
Right.
It's, a lot of people have invested their time to get there.
I think I can throw another article in the Ledger about it, be a little bit more specific about what's going on in the time coming as well. Definitely. Because I did do something on the tree cutting, based on emails that I've been receiving from people who had heard things anecdotally that were a little exaggerated. So that's why I wrote that particular article on trying to clear stuff up. So we could just keep that going, because that actually did get people's attention.
Okay.
They did read it, so.
Right, and some of your resources, your cable, local cable, newspaper, but get them out to the woodlot. That's really where
That's the big one.
got to be, and they can actually see before what's going to happen. We've done post-site walks as well. After it's done, we get to look at the results, and you're going to have people who like it, and you're going to have people that don't like it.
I would think we would want to post a sign well in advance, like months in advance, on the woodlot itself, so the people who visit it regularly would be aware that, oh, we're going to have this site walk.
I definitely agree. And we can post it on public access.
Yeah, public access and...
In the Ledger.
Put in the Ledger, but I think an important component would be to actually post it on the property, because you may have people who don't read the Ledger or whatever, but they go there on a regular basis, so...
Yep, definitely a good idea. So moving forward, how long does it take you to develop the plan and mark the trees? And if we were to move forward on a date, how long until we would decide to advertise and promote a site walk?
Sure. From the time I start marking trees, it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks to finish the marking. It's going to be a week or so for the cutting plan. So you're talking about a month of setup.
Okay.
The state forester has about 2 weeks, 10 business days to approve the forest cutting plan. So there's another 2 weeks, sending out a prospectus to prospective buyers. You've got another 2 to 3 weeks of notification. You've got another 2 weeks to wait for them to return their bid. And then pretty much after that, it should be ready to go. So you're probably looking at 2.5, 3 month period before you're going to have trees ready to be cut.
Is there a particular time of year where, I'm sorry, you mentioned that before about, because of the land, November?
Yeah, I think we're going to see the Blandings turtle restrictions.
July, September, October, 5
At the
months.
latest, you'd be thinking we need to start the process by beginning of August?
Yeah, the sooner...
latest.
Yeah, the sooner you can, the better, because the problem is, a lot of these logging outfits are trying to plan in advance for what they're going to do in the winter. So if you throw something on their plate now, they can say, oh, okay, that's something I can at least prepare for.
Now, when you do the cutting plan and we go out to bid, generally you put a timeline in saying, once you start operations, you have X amount of weeks, months
Yes.
to finish operation.
Yeah. So in timber sale agreement, the contract, that's one of the terms, is the time
Sure.
constraints.
Okay.
And those are things too that the town would review.
Yeah.
The contract and the timing. I would imagine the town's council would take a quick look
Yeah.
at it, as well as Heather.
Yeah.
The contract and the bid process, or the bid documents.
So moving forward, we need to get in touch with the town manager to make sure that what she wants, if she wants to go out for RFP, or if we can just sign a work order with them.
Well, I have spoken with Adam, when we did get the proposal, that Todd was just looking, and I do have it. At this stage, he said, given the dollar value, we don't have to go out to bid for Gary's services. We can just approve Gary's services
As a work
based
order,
on...
and not an RFP.
Right, based on our acquaintance with him. He's done work for us in the past.
Professional services.
Yes.
Provided.
So we could approve to start moving forward at any time. We don't need an RFP or a bid to go out for Gary's services. Okay. So, and where there's no money outlay from the town, we could go ahead pretty much at any time, so. And the window, 3 months, we're 5 months right now, so it is rapidly closing. Myself, I wouldn't have an issue trying to approve it tonight for Gary to start developing a forest cutting plan.
I don't have an issue with that. I think, based on the conversations we've had with the entire commission, I think that it seems like everybody's in favor of it, and our relationship with Gary has been nothing but positive. The documents that he's provided for us have been, as far as I'm concerned, incredible. So I think that moving forward with him on board is going to be a great opportunity for us.
And having as much time as possible to advertise and get the public notice out, so if there are concerned citizens, they can come and be part of the process.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
and as Gary discussed, it was the best property that we have to start on. The work is definitely out of the public eye. It's also work that needs to be done.
Right.
It is in the health of the forest, and eventually when the trees do die, in public safety.
Yeah.
It definitely is a needed project, so. Anybody else have any questions at this point? Any questions from the public? So, myself, I would have no problem accepting a motion to hire the services of New England Forest, what is it called?
Forestry consultant.
Yeah, New England Forestry Consultants to conduct a survey of the property lines and develop a forest cutting plan for the small town forest.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any other discussion?
I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, that I'm really excited about this. This has been in the works, and this is something that I've wanted to see for years and years and years, and I think this is a really big step for us, and I think it's awesome.
I definitely think it is. It's nice to have the properties, but it's much nicer to be able to manage them properly. And I think this is a great first step forward to managing them properly, and hopefully a long and fruitful relationship to continue that.
I'm excited as well. They're beautiful properties and in need of work, and I really look forward to working with you.
Great. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All right, so
Thank you.
send the documents over to Matt, and he can present on the town manager for sign approval. Yep.
You would like a copy of an example of a contract, between sale agreement? And
That would be perfect.
anything else?
Well, I think the biggest one is your contract for your services.
Which you have. Anything else? I think that would be.
I think that would be it for now. Okay, for now.
Then we can move forward once we have the plans in place, and if you get Matt the proposed documents, we can get them over and they can review them. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great evening, Gary.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you stalking through the woods.
A lot of ticks this year.
Yes.
Yes.
So when will we, so we'll probably hear from you in 3 or 4 weeks?
Yeah, so as soon as you sign the work order for us to proceed.
Okay.
We will start.
Okay.
We'll get right on it.
All right, then we'll plan on sometime maybe late in August to start walking around with the public.
Perfect. Probably a good back to school, September time of year would be great.
Yep. All right, perfect. Great.
So all I need to do is have Heather sign this one that you've already electronically signed.
Yes. I think I,
Product sale work order?
yes, that's it.
Okay.
Okay. Great, thank you.
All right, thank you, have a great night. All right, moving forward. Signatures, we've done our signatures. Any certificate of compliance, Matt? No. Okay, and we're holding off on 43 until such time as we put an order of conditions in place. Enforcement, 43 Island Road, we're all set on. 183 Hemlock Drive. See Mr. Thomas. Bring us up to speed on what we've got going on.
Let's see. There were a few things you had requested.
Yep.
Update the plan showing the location of the old previous wall and its location. Which I inked in here, and the new dimensions are in the boxes.
Is this the only copy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
I can make copies now.
Oh, you can?
yep,
Some of them I sent to you.
Oh, perfect.
there was a request to put in erosion barrier,
Oh, good, all right.
which was done within the 7-day period you had asked for. I've taken probably 3 tons of material and debris off the property from various locations and out of the tent. Filled a dumpster, 15-yard dumpster, about 3 tons, I think it was.
Okay.
Approximately. And I need to order another one.
It's amazing when you have them, you find stuff to throw in them, isn't it?
Yeah. What's amazing was, there was nothing out of the house.
Really?
Yeah. I think that was it as far as
Okay.
I recall here, when I jotted down.
As long as there's one copy, I don't think we need, I can just hand that around. If he's having trouble.
Oh, we should have
one for the file.
Yep. Something for ourselves.
He's got it now.
Yep. Yeah, he figured it out.
I'm glad to see this forward progress. I think
Yes,
that
thank you.
as far as, from what I remember, that's all the documentation that we've asked for. I haven't seen that yet, but glad to see that there's movement.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I apologize, it goes so slow, I work probably 10-hour days, 6 days a week, so.
Yep.
Father's Day.
And he didn't right now, any day that the sun's out.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't much of a Father's Day.
Who'd you have that graduated? I saw you up at the,
My daughter,
really?
yeah.
Nice.
You?
My niece.
Niece, yeah.
She was the first one out. Well, it was kind of neat. It was the first class from the new high school.
Yeah.
So, I think they graduated in a gym last year, but they hadn't attended school there, so. And it was a perfect day.
It was.
It was quick, and the first raindrop fell as they finished, so.
That's right. Signal to get out of the day. Great, thank you.
Couple copies for the file, you can...
Okay, so we've got the dimensions of where the new wall is going.
Yeah, basically it's where the remainder of the old wall still
was,
exists.
yeah,
And that's where I
okay.
took the dimensions from. Now, the dimensions were taken from the corner of the porch,
Yep.
the corner post. They made a note off to the side here.
Yep, perpendicular, okay.
Now,
I see how you had them both ways.
yeah, now, this dimension here was actually originally taken out from the house.
Yep.
But the dimensions that are on here are both from the corners of the porch post.
Okay, so it's drawn from the house, but it's supposed to be from the, okay. All right, I do see it now.
When I looked at it, and, I noticed it was from the house originally.
Okay, yeah, so it's, yeah.
But this is a scale drawing, so we can easily
Yeah.
check.
We can figure that out.
That's great.
Perfect.
Okay. And when we'll, probably not till draw down to put the new wall back?
Right.
okay.
Yeah, we had discussed that.
Okay.
Well, I think what was discussed before was to get everything in violation taken care of before any work proceeds.
Okay. All right, at this point, do we want to continue and take a quick walk out and see where we're at?
Yeah, I don't think it would hurt to just, stop by and make sure that what we're looking at is accurate.
And we can refresh ourselves.
Yep.
All right. No, this is perfect. Thank you very much. Did we want to try to schedule for the 1st? No? Okay.
Well, it's just, first is the Hickory Hill Boat Parade.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I will not be available on that.
And judging by the amount of people that said they weren't going to be available for the meeting, then
Okay.
why don't we do the, what do we have, another one on the,
If it was the 1st, it'd be
the 19th?
So it'd be the 15th.
on the 5th?
5th, it's tight right now.
Yeah.
There's only, it's 2 of us that are definitely gone.
I thought it was 3 that was definitely going.
Well, Tom's gone.
Yeah.
Me and Carl. Nobody else has said they weren't gonna be here yet, so. And I think Matt said it was a late night, so.
And Matt, you're not going to be here either, right?
And Matt's not gonna be here, so.
But we've already continued 3 from 4 from tonight to that night, so.
What date were you,
Well, I'm just saying I can't do the sidewalk on the 1st. I'm happy to do sidewalk some other time, I just can't do the
Why
sidewalk on the
don't we want to plan on the 19th?
Or the 15th, 14th. 15th would be the site walk.
Right, but the meeting on the 19th.
Yep, all right, let's do that. So we'll continue this to the 19th.
The 19th of July. We would be coming out on site on Saturday, the 15th.
that'll work.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so site visit 15th.
Yep, then the meeting on the 19th. There you go. All right, with applicant's permission, we'll continue to the 19th and plan on going on a site walk on the 15th.
Is that a Saturday?
15th should be a Saturday, yes. If it's good for you, if not, we can make it another Saturday.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check.
Okay.
I have a wedding coming up.
Well, we're not looking to put the wall in till late fall. I mean, if that doesn't work, just give us a call and we can continue it moving forward, so.
All right.
Yeah, as long as we stay in communications, that's all we ask.
You know, it's probably better if I were there to answer any questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely,
Yes. Yeah, we want you to be there.
Yep.
If possible.
Much better for us. All right. I'll take a motion to continue.
You want this?
So moved. Motion.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Thomas.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving forward, Emerald Place. Anthony. Okay. Has anybody been by here?
I've driven by it.
Okay. You can see it at all? Okay. So what are we proposing, Anthony?
So, one of the concerns was erosion that occurred in some of the various areas of the beach. And so,
Which actually show up really well right here.
yeah, it's like a few locations show up there. That's why I thought this was a great way to kind of talk about this instead of, an old design plan or something like this. This kind of really helps get an idea of what's going on. We went out there, I've been out there a few times during rainstorms, trying to see what's going on, what was happening. And it seemed like we have some water coming from the gravel parking area that's kind of on the bottom left there. And actually, to back up, it's exactly what was happening before the water slide was taken down. Water coming off the gravel parking lot. There actually used to be a paved swale right along where I'm showing a stone trench. Used to be a paved swale there, so the water would come off the gravel parking lot, hit the paved swale, and go right into the lake. And so as part of the project, we took out all that impervious surface. And then, so now, it was a big storm. Smaller storms, not a big deal, but the bigger storms, the sand really has a tough time holding itself up from any kind of concentrated flow of water. And then once you get a little bit of a channel created, the water loves it. Oh, great, I got a place to go. It gets worse and worse. So we saw some water coming off from there. Also, we saw some water coming from the lawn area on this plan to the left of that building that's there too. And what was happening is, you can see where there's a green picnic table, the rightmost green picnic table, or those green areas are picnic tables. Seemed to be a little bit of a hump in the sand there. So, to me, what appeared to be happening was water was being dammed up ever so slightly. And then what would happen is the water would try and find a place to get out. And it would find a low point, and now you have almost like a concentrated flow of water going from the low point. And that's where I think you see that major, I can show you here, this line here. There's a low point here, and I think this line here, the water finally found its way out. On small storms, not a big deal because the water went right back through the sand. On the bigger storms, it couldn't get in fast enough, found its way out. Once it made that break point, now there was a channel of flow to go. I think what happened was, a lot of this occurred towards the end of the season, so usually every week or 2 weeks, they actually groom the beach as part of their maintenance. So, part of the off-season, they weren't doing anything, so now you have a small channel, it rains, the channel gets bigger, 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 when we saw the larger channel that we were discussing back before. So, what we thought were the best ways to approach this is, one is get rid of that hump. Make it and grade it such that you have more of a dispersed flow and gradual, so it's not being dammed up and then breaking. It just goes across the dam. The other thing was to put in basically a strip of stone, 3-foot wide stone, about 2 feet deep, to intercept the water coming off of the lawn area, coming from that lawn area all the way around, and have a stone trench, as you can see in red there. Have a stone, edge along the base of this wall, and then a stone channel basically going down to the water, right where the paved swale used to be. So now that gives the water a safe place to travel through the stone and make its way to the water without now causing erosion through there. And so, at the time we kind of were to assess that, it worked out that they were getting ready to do their beginning of the year maintenance of the beach and getting it ready for the season. So as window opened up, the guys are gonna be out there doing this. We had rain coming, the week after, so actually, contacted Matt, and Matt came out, and then Chairman actually came on as well, kind of went over and said, hey, we got a great window here. The whole intent is to stop this erosion. We got more rain coming. Let's get this done as part of the maintenance. We're ready to do it. We went out there and did it. Took, I think, 3 days in the dry time. 3 days, put it in, done. Since then, I've been out there a couple times after rainstorms, and minimal, if any, erosion is really occurring.
I'm sorry, can you back up?
Yeah,
just-
sure.
So what was done, what work was done?
Yep, sure. Basically, a stone edge trench was put along this wall. That's what's shown in red here.
Yeah.
All along this wall here, and then give it a place to go safely out to the water and stone, and then also a stone trench.
So this work was done at that time?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. And so that was, and it seems to be working great. Really, and that hump was taken out as part of the grooming of the beach, so really, haven't really seen, when I'm out there, haven't seen any issues with that at all. The other thing that was mentioned while we're out there is that we have this beach area here to the left. To the left over here. We were asked to look at that area and see, can we get rid of that beach? I think the commission would like to maybe reduce some of that beach area. Could we look at putting that as a lawn? Went back, talked to the owners of the property. They said, yeah, if that's something the commission would like us to do, I think that's not going to take away too much from the overall beach that we've always wanted to have. And so they've agreed to basically, I tried to bubble it in green.
Yeah, you did.
In there, at first it was discussed just doing this little area there, but we have the stone trench in there. I looked at it some more. I thought, geez, you know what? It would work out very well with the stone trench here. We make all of this lawn, so now the water comes across the lawn, filters across the lawn, then gets into the stone trench. You're not gonna have sand getting into the stone trench. So anyways, it's a point, but back to the owners, I said, yep, if the commission thinks that's something we should do, let's do it. And so we're ready to do it, and then it seemed like there was some concerns on what was happening and wanted us to kind of come and talk about it, so we stopped. Our next steps, we were ready to do before, we want to put irrigation in first. We want to plant grass and have it die. So they want to spend the money and, put the irrigation there, so we have a healthy turf, and then come in and plant grass. So we're kind of on hold right now until we can come and discuss that and make sure everyone's, we're basically just trying to finish it off and then be done.
Can you tell me about this area right here? Is that, looking from here, is that like water, is it like a swamp?
No, just water.
This is-
I think there's maybe some water comes off of the road.
Yep.
And eventually makes its way down there.
There's no standing water here, though, is there?
Yeah, sometimes it gets in there. It's like a little,
It is an area, though, that you still have to take and address for your order of conditions, because that was supposed to be just kind of a naturalized swale area because of all the water that comes across the street. And I know we've kind of replanted some of it.
we replanted this whole area. We were never doing anything down there. We were never
Well,
touching.
not at the beach area, but the water was supposed to dissipate before it was...
The reason I'm asking is it looks like that there's an outflow here,
Oh, there definitely is.
causing a
Definitely is.
delta, and that's the reason for my question.
I mean, if you want us to remove that delta there, and we could easily do that if that's something.
And I didn't know how to interpret this. Is this an area of water that then, overflows this thing, or I didn't know what this was, or was this darker vegetation?
It's a shadow.
It's a shadow.
There's no standing water.
Okay, thank you. I didn't understand the aerial, thank you.
Yeah, so I think what it was during construction, that had all vegetated back in pretty thickly. And during construction, they graded it off
On the side.
and then this
Over here, yeah,
over there.
over there, yeah.
And had revegetated it in, and I think there's still maybe some plants and some
and that-
mulching and some stone that
There
needs
was
to...
an issue,
Yeah.
multiple times actually, I believe the
Yes.
commission reached out to us and said, hey, it's not taken, it's not taken. Every
Yeah.
time Matt would call me, I'd call the owners, okay, we'll get right over it. These owners have been really good for me to deal with too. Because I let them know, you guys let me know. And I think the last time we were out there, it seemed like the vegetation.
Yeah, it is starting,
was
it is
finally-
definitely, but
finally
it's...
taken.
That area is supposed to be planted back in and designed in such a way to stop the erosion, because there's still definitely a plume that's running down there, so that's something we...
Yeah, I think before we end up closing, and I guess the other thing, as you can probably tell, we're near the end here.
The project is pretty well built out.
Yeah, this is pretty much done.
One of the last things here is, now the commission kind of mentioned, we plant some grass there, let's do it.
Okay.
That's really the last piece, and then it's going to be probably coming back before the board, asking for a certificate of compliance.
Yep.
And closing this thing out. And that's going to be absolutely one of the items that we'll end up walking, making sure you're satisfied with the growth that's taken in over there. But that's,
All right. So
hopefully we're coming soon, but that's going to be a little bit down the
so
road.
I guess I just need a couple questions answered, because when we did meet out there,
Yeah.
and I had talked with you about trying to berm
So we try,
from where from where the
Right, so
small
we didn't-
steps are in the wall,
yeah, we weren't
coming
going,
across
so what
to
we tried to
the...
do is grade it as much as we could to
All right,
get the water to
hold on,
flow
Anthony, let me just get my thought out so everybody knows where I'm coming from. So from the small steps in the wall across to where basically the lone picnic table is, have that as the high point and have the rest of the water shedding, not down the beach, but out and away and down through I think right now it's rip ramped?
It's a mix of small
Yeah.
brownstone at the top, and then towards the bottom, it gets to more of a crushed stone, a little larger.
Because my...
Is doing trench on the,
What's that?
you want to have a high point and then have it grade back towards the
I kind of want to have a high point here, and then lawn and regrade it back down towards the parking lot and out. to get as much of the sheet flow off of the beach as possible, so that we don't continually and historically have the erosion problem. So that was where I was coming from when we met, and the other concern I had, because you had brought up the stone trenches, I don't think stone trenches necessarily in this area are historical way to, not historical, but the longevity of the trench system like you have there, I'm concerned that eventually it's just going to fill in and the water is just going to continue. If we don't change the grading and the way the water's coming onto the beach, those will fill in. I mean, I walked out there and, it's already filled in a quarter of the way across from one storm in areas of the stone trench.
Right, and that's where this lawn area is gonna help get rid of all that.
Yep.
Basically, the stone trench on the base of the wall, the only water that's getting to that is from the lawn. So it's, the sand's not getting to that. So this stone trench all the way on the wall is gonna be fine. Right now, and because we kinda stopped work, we've gotten some sand into this trench because it's coming off of the driveway, across the sand area and now into the trench, which is the reason why it was a good point when brought up. Can we lawn that? I think it's gonna be better for everybody. Better-
definitely.
I think better for the commission, better for the owners too, because they're not gonna be maintaining that trench.
But I think berming it would give us a stop forever.
So I think berming it is a mistake,
Yeah.
per se. We did regrade it and try and sheet as much as possible.
Yeah.
My concern is by creating a berm, you're now creating concentrated flow, that berm will wash out. And then we're running right back to where we were. We did take this, there was a big hump in here. Well, when you're looking for it, it's a big hump. We took that out, so it's more of a sheet flow across, and tried to direct as much to that stabilized stone trench as we could.
So how does the berm wash out, though? Are you designing it so water is gonna top it?
Well, there is no berm.
Yes, but if we were to put something along the top of the beach that would stop the sheet flow
So if
permanently.
you were to put a berm of earth across here, it's going to wash out.
Okay,
So we want to have as much sheet flow as possible,
So
but
if
we're
we-
directing the sheet flow towards the trench. So I think it's, by having this stone trench in here, primary one, it's eliminating a lot of the water that gets to the beach. What's on the beach is what falls. That's what was creating the problem. We had runoff from the lawn getting in and causing the problem. This trench basically intercepts the flow of water, and now the water goes into the trench, and then it's going to go out this way, and it's going to go this way, all to stabilize areas. Again, it's much better than it ever was.
and I agree that the trench is working today, but I don't think the trench is a long-term solution.
I disagree.
They dump all of their snow over here, and you,
Anymore.
well, they say they're not gonna, but when they have no place to put it, that's where it's gonna end up. I mean, again, I'm looking for a historical, a long-term fix.
But the thing is,
And it's-
with any stormwater thing, you have to maintain it. Doesn't matter what it is. Everything requires maintenance. These stone trenches are wrapped in filter fabric to keep the sand from getting into the main trench for ease of maintenance. You scrape off the top layer of stone, you take off the sand, and you put your stone back on. So like anything, like the catch basins on their site, you have to maintain it.
So there would be an O&M plan for
I mean,
the
that's
stone
just for
drain?
either to get sand to clean it out, you can do that as part of the yearly maintenance.
But again, if you made a high point here so that all of the sheet flow
Again, I disagree.
definitely
I
went
think
this way.
putting it at a high point, you're gonna cause more erosion, and I don't wanna do that. I think you're gonna create a dam, and the water's gonna hit that, and then run along. We did regrade it so we have a high point, a ridge line,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Well, and I guess berm may be the wrong, I'm not
Okay,
looking for a 3-foot berm.
I think
I mean,
so.
I'm looking for,
And we've done
that's
that.
the continental divide. So
we've
any
done-
raindrop that's on this side goes this way, any raindrop on this side goes this way, but it gets rid of, because right now, all of the sheet flow's going there.
And we've done that.
I think without properly grading it, and maybe you have, I haven't
Yeah,
gone out there to
please
take a look.
Again, I think
Okay.
that was huge by doing that, was a big improvement, and then also intercepting the water from even getting there.
Yeah, and
You know,
maybe a plan with some grading. Yeah. Would help.
Your as-built
To show us.
contours?
Yeah.
we have to do an as-built plan for the whole project.
Okay, but we should really have it on this before we make a good decision on it. Mr. Pease?
My thoughts are, I applaud them for saying they're willing to grass this in. My thoughts are, if you have this thing, this drainage structure here is intercepting the water before it gets to the sand, and my thought is you don't want the water draining from the sand toward the drainage trench, because that's what's going to fill the trench. And to me, you want the water on the sand, if it's going to drain anywhere, draining toward the lake, away from the trench, because sand is going to be the enemy, of us.
As long as the slope isn't such that you're going to get runoff.
Again,
significant runoff.
But to finish my thought, though, if now you're only dealing with the water that falls on the sand from the air, precipitation, rather than water coming onto it from other places, I think my personal thought, and I could be wrong about this, is that most of the problem here is from water that's coming from other places and running across here, and if we can stop that, and I think this plan does that, then that's what I think about the situation.
And my other thought was trying to shrink the beach down. I mean, what is it from the edge of the water to the point here of your trench? I mean, that's 80 or 85 feet.
But again, I know we've talked about on site, we're planning on grassing this. We're not going to give up this beach. That was the whole intent of this, is that they...
Oh, and I wouldn't ask you to give it up, I'm just looking to shrink the size of the runoff. I mean, I know that it was a historic beach, but we cannot allow it to continue to erode into the lake.
I agree. I think what is proposed and what's already been done, that intercepting trench on the downhill side of the wall, which is the high side, I completely agree. It intercepts the water. Water is the problem. And so we now give it a safe place to go. And I encourage you to please take a walk out there anytime. Be happy to go out there. It's been great. And it stinks to watching in the rain, but I've done it a couple of times, and it works out pretty well. So, I mean, we'd like to keep moving forward and be able to plant our grass. We've kind of stopped because it seemed like we were in the impression that the commission had issues with what we were doing. So we'd like to finish this off and be done, if we can. So I don't know if that's something that we can make a decision on tonight, so we can put it back on the schedule, so we missed our window on the contractor schedule before. We'd like to get back in there and try and finish this off. I'm not sure what we might need to do that. We basically want to plant grass.
I mean, unfortunately, I usually agree with you, but on this one, I have a problem with just continuing to allow most of the beach water to run down the beach.
And so, Rich, what are you asking? Are you asking from here over, you want this water to drain this way?
No, from...
Which is kind of how it's graded now.
Right here. That would be the high point. So from there back would be seeded and graded as such.
Oh, you want them to take all this beach away?
Yes, yes, and go and have the water shedding off this way. Again, we're going to have a long-term problem with this beach because you have such a large rain shed area.
I disagree.
You're going to get continual erosion. The stone trenches, again, you're still going to get infiltration into the trenches that will stop them from working. I think if you just graded as such so you had a high point and continued this water flow off this way and then into a trench and down, now you've got it going through a lawn area, and it just lessens, and it still leaves them a beach that's 50 feet by 300. It's not, and I do understand that you're advocating for your clients, but we're advocating for the lake.
I get that, and that's how the project was approved and designed, and that's how these were sold, with this being a beach. We're okay with getting rid of some of this lawn, but not to get rid of all of this. I disagree that there's going to be a problem now. We're intercepting the water. I agree with what you're saying. It's the water that falls here that's going to be the issue. We're gonna, if we have to, it's gonna be an issue if we have to lose that beach. We're gonna have a problem, for sure.
For the record, I actually agree with Anthony here. I think his proposal to grass on the western side, I think is more than adequate, at least to satisfy me, so.
I guess I agree with Bob and Todd. Yeah. It's tough getting old.
Only a couple of years.
Yeah, I think that what's proposed here and what's been done, I think, to me, is satisfactory. I mean, as long as I can remember, this has been a beach, and I think overall, there's been an improvement on the site. So I think I would be amenable to what's proposed.
Okay. All right, you guys want to see any other plans or anything before they continue to move forward?
Actually, my only other thought was in the grassed area, anytime we put grass down, inevitably there's going to be chemical treatment and things like that. If there was another thought to some sort of infiltration system or something like that that could capture the water that wouldn't have chemicals added to it over time to maintain it, I'd be in favor of something like that as well. I don't know, I just, with more and more lawn, that close to the lake, I agree. I just,
Start like fertilizers, you mean, like?
yeah.
Phosphates.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and I mean, I'm sure they're using,
Phosphates, fertilizer at this point are phosphate-free. You can't buy them. Yeah, other than a new seeding fertilizer, all.
I'm sure the weed control and those things are more what I would be concerned with.
I'd like to see detail on the construction of the stone trench that shows, how it's designed to keep the sand out of it. I don't think we've seen that. If we did, I didn't see it. And I'd like to see a maintenance plan on that and how they're going to keep it silt-free. I'd like to see both of those things.
Prior to them continuing, or? Well, I just think we should. It has to be on paper. I mean, we can't, it's great to have a file with some documents in it, but it's nice to have everything so that moving forward, we know what we approve.
I would like to see that, before we sign off on the project, but I don't see that we need to hold them up. This is an improvement. Grassing in this area is an improvement. It's something the commission wanted. I don't know why we would hold them up for that, for any reason whatsoever.
Anthony, you indicated that all these stone trenches are, the stone's been wrapped in non-woven geotextile and then used stone on top of that as well.
So you can't see if you
Right, so-
scrape the stone off, you'll find the fabric.
So you can, for the satisfaction of the commission members, provide calculations for the clogging and things like that?
I can give you the details, the standard detail that shows the stone, the fabric, and then I can come up with just like, it's one sentence that basically I'll explain it real quick, and I can write it down too. If when the top layer gets clogged, you gotta take the top layer of stone off. Sometimes you gotta discard it, and then you can just basically brush off the fabric on top, and you put new stone down.
But, I mean, eventually what I'm saying is the geotextile fabric will clog when fines get into that fabric.
Right, that's what I'm saying, you scrape that off. Sure, yeah, but that's what the whole point is, to keep it from getting into the stone, and then having to replace the whole...
Right.
Yeah. So I guess am I missing?
I guess what I'm saying is you could provide a calculation that shows the time that it will take for that geotextile fabric to clog.
There is no calculation, I think, to do. It's, once this sand is gone here, it's water across the lawn. The sand isn't getting to the trench, and now we're just helping to keep the sand from the groundwater, any groundwater penetration. I'm not aware of any calculation that I can do and I've ever done on an interceptor trench that we've ever used on a project for that. So it all depends. I mean, like Richard said, if there were a pile of snow there, that could be something different. If something else happens over there, someone just dumps a bucket of sand on there. But it's like with any maintenance, like with a catch basin. Sometimes you get more than usual. It's just part of the stuff you look at. beginning of the year when they do their maintenance, how's the trench operating? Good? Great. Not good? Scrape that stone off, get that sand off the fabric and get it operating again.
But again, then if you change the grade, you wouldn't have to worry about the trench.
I mean, if we
You
grass
have the water shedding this way and down. Again, that's my whole problem with the stone trenches is I don't think it is a long-term fix.
And I disagree, because especially this, there's no sand getting to this trench. It's water, it's upstream from all of this. It would be this trench, and the sand that's getting to this trench right now is from this area that we haven't been able to grass yet. And then, and then pitching this water to here, it's gonna bring some sand with it. And we tried to pitch it as much as we could, as you asked. But again, there's not a lot of water. It's a very, very small area that gets there.
I have no trouble with allowing them to grass that area.
No, I think that's an improvement. You had also mentioned something about, they had been historically putting snow there.
Yeah, so it's, absolutely, so they were dumping snow right in this area here. And after what was happening out there, decided they're not gonna do that anymore.
Okay.
It was a bad idea. They're looking at redoing their whole snow management plan and actually doing it completely different. And so they're trying to get away from that.
So can we put that in writing, that there be no more snow dumping here?
No storage of snow.
I can go back to them, ask them to, if they can agree to that, sure.
Because, I think going forward, if we do end up grassing that, I wouldn't think they're gonna wanna store snow on an irrigated lawn area, but you never know.
Is the rest of the lawn irrigated?
Everywhere is, yeah.
Okay, so you're just gonna tie it
So,
down?
yeah, there's irrigation right in here, so we're just gonna extend some lines from that.
Okay. All right, so at this point, you're gonna go back and finish the seeding and provide us with an O&M plan. And
Personally, I'd be happy to see the detail in the O&M plan, when we did the certificate of compliance.
I agree with Ken.
okay.
Would you want, do you want a separate statement on the snow storage, or we want that, I'll go back to the ones, assuming that's gonna work out to be fine. Would you want that, like, in the O&M statement, would you like a separate statement? We have to answer that right now, but...
Is that something that we could add to the order of conditions? Just so it'd be perpetually on the order of
I think
conditions?
it's
or is
probably
that-
better to add it to the O&M plan, because that's perpetual.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. No, that's fine. I just wasn't sure procedurally what the best way to do it would be.
So no snow storage in this area. Whatever you call the beach, Emerald Beach. And do they have any plans to pave that parking area, or are they just gonna leave it regrind?
Just gonna leave it like that, that's...
Yeah, I asked that
And
question.
where does that all run?
It runs right, I think some of the erosion was coming from the water running off there. That's basically how historically always was, it went to a paved swale.
So, wait a minute, you're saying that this right now runs this way?
Yeah. It's like it always has.
Everything runs off of the street, runs into that parking lot and runs down.
Not from the road goes into its own drainage system. It's just a gravel
There's
path.
curbing.
Yeah, there's a curb there,
Okay.
sidewalk.
Other than the entrance.
All right, thank you. So when you grass this, would this stuff continue to run across the lawn into this trench?
Yes, now we go across the lawn, which I think is another added benefit to the lawn, is now any particulates that are there will filter through the lawn as well, which I think is nice.
Because now I am concerned that if this is draining into this like this, that you're gonna get particulates off of this clogging the outflow of this track.
This is a wood line here, right? Between the parking area and the...
Yeah, the fence there, there's some tree bushes.
You'd have to go take a look at it to get a better lay of it.
I will go take a look.
We never really
I have looked at it twice, I'll go look at it a third time.
All set?
Yeah, okay. This. That's good. Yeah, again, anytime you need someone for myself or my office to go out there, we'd be happy to, obviously anytime I want to go out there, just, I would just, just check in with the office sometimes and let them know, hey, because these people get worried sometimes if there's someone out there that they don't recognize from the community. So the office, there's a fully staffed office right here. It says, you pull right in here, and there's an office, you say, I'm from the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
So I'm just taking a wrap around.
Good to know.
So that's, it's no issue at all. Obviously, go whenever you'd like.
Sure.
It keeps people from the nosy people. Oh, who's going? Who's looking
I
at?
live in the economy, I'm familiar with that phenomenon.
Who are you? Why are you here?
All right.
So then we can go ahead and get going on the grass, and I can...
Sounds like the consensus.
Schedule, and I can start, and we have started, just to update, because you have started as-built in the entire complex, to, again, prepare to kind of close the whole job out. We have to close it out with the Conservation Commission and eventually the Planning Board as well. So we are in the process of kind of gathering all the information, and then once we complete over here, we can add that, and hopefully by the end of the year, be able to come back to you guys with a sort of compliance request. So hopefully close this out.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank you very much, appreciate your time. Again, as always, if you guys ever need anything, always you know how to reach me.
Oh, yeah.
So I appreciate that.
All righty, have a good night.
Thank you.
Too.
Thank you. Let's go quick. I want to go home.
Yep.
New business commission openings. I believe Matt's contacted the talent bank people we've had. and-
Every way that's at it, we've gotten some interest. We've got
Okay.
2 enthusiastic responses.
Anybody gonna come to a hearing, or?
They are planning on it.
Okay. And how does it move forward with the selectmen?
Well, we have to wait until Mr. Bertram is officially done, which should be at the end of the week.
Okay.
And then, I'm assuming after the holiday, they'll start doing their considerations.
Okay.
But I've already been speaking with Adam about the talent bank and people that have shown interest, so he's relaying that to the selectmen.
All right, I'm not too sure how they proceed with that.
I just hope that they proceed quickly, because, tonight's shows, being down a member can be detrimental to the commission.
Which we really haven't had, we've had some really well-attended meetings over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd that Tom leaves on the first meeting and all of a sudden we start having problems, so. Approval of minutes. Are we all set to approve the minutes of March 1st?
So moved.
We have a motion with a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
March 15th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
March 29th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. April 5th.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
May 3rd. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
May 17th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
June 7th.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Holman Street Property Program. Nobody's here this evening.
Oh, just, I know I said it before, but I'll just let everybody know that we put some barricades across the parking area on Holman Street temporarily for this weekend for that festival that they're having. There was some parking issues and concerns, so Matt and I discussed it, and I put some plastic barriers out just to keep people out of there. People can still park if they want to use the lane property, they can park on the road. It shouldn't be an issue as far as access for people using the property.
Okay. The 675, 667 Reservoir Road, status of inspections.
I've been going down and inspecting, and well, up until this week, almost every day. I went down and I did a stem count on all of the plants for the remediation that Mr. Grogan was supposed to plant, and he did a good job. There's a couple of areas that him and I are gonna walk, because even though it's done according to plan, it counts according to plan, it looks according to plan, when you see it on the ground, it still seems a little thin to me. So, there may be a few years where I may have him plant a few more, in spots. He's already planted about $13,000 worth of vegetation. I mean, good-sized trees. So, there's more coming.
101 Pleasant.
I've been checking, there's been no activity in that property.
Okay. And 155 Reservoir Road.
So far, that whole entire area has been compliant. I inspect that thing almost every single day. I also have report slips that I keep in a file to back all this stuff up.
Okay. And, okay, so our next meeting is July the 5th.
I can come on July 5th.
Okay, we have one member,
I'm planning on being here on July 5th.
2 members.
I think we'll have to see how July 4th goes. But I do intend to be here.
Okay. And I believe Jack said he was intending to be here, so I will not be here.
We better nail Jack down on that after tonight.
Yep. So at this point, it's scheduled for July 5th. Any other public comment from commissioners?
I think at the last meeting, we had talked about, and it goes along with the email that you had sent me about the maps, the property maps. At some point, can we get an update from the town as far as where we're at with the property the tax taking?
Yeah, I had sent, thank you, Ken. I had sent Ken an email. I came late to a previous meeting, and Ken had a map in front of him that he said he thought was produced by Jan Carrier that showed all of the Conservation Commission properties in town, and then it also showed all of the properties that were under tax lien.
I think, yeah, Jan had done that map.
I think Jan had done a hand one, yes.
And I was just asking, and I didn't get a copy that night, and...
I did look for it, and I couldn't put my hands on it, so maybe...
And so
I believe Matt had forwarded, because I did watch the selectmen's meeting, and they did comment that Matt had forwarded our concerned list of properties.
So, but I would like a copy of that map, is what I'm after,
Okay.
so...
All right, see if we can find the map.
I have the map, it's only available in hard copy, so I'm gonna have to go down.
Take a picture with your phone.
Bob can come in the office and...
I can come in the office and look at it. That works.
That's fine.
I just couldn't put my hands on my copy.
No problem.
So that's in the office.
There's one of them that's
Yeah.
big, so I'd have to go down to like Staples and have a PDF it.
Okay. We're gonna have one.
Or Minuteman Press.
Why don't we do that?
Minuteman Press, that's it.
Minuteman,
That's just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, because I'll do it. All right. So we'll get some copies made.
But it would be nice at some point just to...
Well, actually, if Matt would...
Sounded like they were yakking, they were talking about it, so.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out exactly how to proceed,
By the way,
what
well,
properties to
also that's
proceed
the
with.
this issue straightened out.
Oh, you did? Excellent. Yeah, I would just note that Rich and I and Matt met with Adam about the treasurer position, trying to get the proper access and get some definition to what the treasurer is supposed to do. So, I'm going to follow up on that stuff.
Super. It's definitely an area that needs some attention. All right, any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
9:20.
Does that light work anymore?
I don't think so. And we're adjourned.